Always great to play characters whose boundaries are stretched beyond the norm or the convention of the day. I think it's always great to play a character whose ego is set in a different space than your own, a place where you get to kind of go out and tap dance on the outer limits and then come back relatively unscathed. It's really kind of a gas.
What's your new book about?
A detective. He falls for the wrong woman.
What happens?
She kills him.
Enough of this murder and mayhem.
You can fool some of the people all the time, but you can't never fool the American women. They want sophisticated love.
You must remember this. A kiss is just a kiss.
Golly.
Or so the song goes, but for the romantic, a kiss can mean everything.
What'd you do that for?
I'm wondering whether I'd like it.
What's the decision?
I don't know yet.
The kiss on screen is the orgasm of real life, isn't it? It's that great culmination. It's the moment when the two people who have been maybe edging closer and closer together throughout the movie, and obstacles have been trying to tear them apart. Finally, they come together. So it's an enormously satisfying moment, I think, for an audience.
Let me get my breath.
Now, those were the days when people knew how to be in love.
You're a basket case.
They knew it. Time, distance, nothing could separate them because they knew it was right, it was real, it was
a movie. That's your problem. You don't want to be in love. You want to be in love in a movie.
Even the most cynical people who say they don't believe in love, if there are such people, believe in love in the movies. Particularly by now, our ideas of what it means to fall in love, to meet someone in order to fall in love, are all influenced by the movies we've seen, to the point, I think, that people sometimes think that if they absolutely hate someone on first sight, they're bound to marry them.
Has the war started?
Sir, you should have made your presence known.
In the middle of that beautiful love scene? That wouldn't have been very tactful, would it? But don't worry. Your secret is safe with me.
Sir, you are no gentleman.
And you, miss, are no lady.
Well, she may not have been a lady, but she was, in my opinion, the ultimate romantic. Vivien Leigh as Scarlett O'Hara. Watching her love life was like getting a lesson from the master.
I think Charles Hamilton may get it.
Oh, thank you, Miss O'Hara. Thank you.
As if I couldn't get a better
She taught us the fundamentals of romance and how to attract a man. Love 101 by Professor Scarlett O'Hara.
I'm mad at you.
What have we done, honey?
You haven't been near me all day, and I wore this old dress just because I thought you liked it. I was counting on eating barbecue with you, too.
Well, you are, Scarlett. Of course you are, honey.
Oh, I never can make up my mind which of you two's the handsomest. I was awake all last night trying to figure it out.
She taught us how to dress to show off our figures.
20 inches.
20 inches.
Well, we can dream, can't we? She taught us how to flirt, how to primp, and how to dance. And the most important lesson of all, how to kiss.
All women, I think, their secret dream is to be kissed like Clark Gable kissed Vivien Leigh in Gone with the Wind. I mean, that's what all women want to sort of lie there and look up.
The best romantics have a way of doing that to us. They make us want to float out of our seats, across the movie screen and into the arms of Clark Gable or Cary Grant or Kevin Costner. Romantics do what is almost impossible in real life. They live for love.
Love was the one arena in which a woman had to make choices, to excel, to be daring and risk-taking. And the heroines in these movies were like the militarists of love. They were like generals on the battlefield. They were fantastic. They were heroic.
I love you so much. And I hate this war so much. Oh, it's a crazy world. Anything can happen. If you shouldn't get away. I mean, if something should keep us apart, wherever they put you, and wherever I'll be, I want you to know that. Kiss me. Kiss me as if it were the last time.
Every Ingrid Bergman kiss was filled with meaning. She made love seem more vital than oxygen.
I couldn't bear it away from you. I went through yesterday, holding my breath as if I were being hunted. I couldn't eat or work or do anything but think of you. So I had to come. I'll get a room on this floor. I'm here as your doctor only. It has nothing to do with love.
Who was she kidding? Everything in an Ingrid Bergman movie was about love. In fact, Ingrid Bergman seemed to survive on love.
Say it again. It keeps me awake.
I love you.
I think a lot of women got their romantic notions from the films that Ingrid Bergman was in. She just had something in the way that she just looked at a man or something that you just knew she was dying of love. There was this aching longing in her face and her expression. It was something sort of far off and distant and maybe kind of silly in how romantic it was, and probably gave us all bad examples to try to live up to. But there's something sort of beautiful about that as well.
She had extraordinary vulnerability, just heartbreaking vulnerability, something in her eyes, something about her, and yet she had great strength too.
Although she played a nun only once, her image as noble and good followed her through all her roles, and she could make audiences sympathize with almost any indiscretion. After all, who thinks of Casablanca as a movie about infidelity?
Who was it you left me for? Was it Laszlo, or were there others in between? Or aren't you the kind that tells?
Somehow she maintained a sense of righteousness, even in the most scandalous situations.
I was down on my knees asking his forgiveness because I asked him to marry me. On my knees! How dare he make love to me and not be a married man?
Ironically, what the public accepted in Ingrid Bergman's movies, they rejected in real life. When she fell in love with a man other than her husband and became pregnant, she was vilified in the press and all but deported.
These were repressive times when people were so upset when she ran off with Roberto Rossellini, an out-of-wedlock relationship. And now, of course, actresses have babies without husbands at the drop of a hat. It seems so ironic that she was so penalized for it.
Ingrid Bergman's love affair with Hollywood eventually had a happy ending. She returned after a 7-year exile and won the Oscar for her very next film, Anastasia. That's why we love the movies, kid. If you hadn't noticed by now, real life has very little to do with the movies, especially the romantic ones. But the movies have everything to do with our fantasies, especially the romantic ones.
In the 50s, when I was growing up, I used to go to the movies every single Saturday at noon, every single Saturday, and there were Doris Day and Jane Powell and Marilyn Monroe, and you sat there thinking, well, this isn't me. This is not me. And then, of course, along came Audrey Hepburn.
Look at that funny face. Audrey Hepburn was a new kind of romantic. No one else in the world looked anything like her, but thousands of young girls in the audience imagined they did. When she found love in a movie, we all felt that we had found love too.
Who are you?
Some girl.
She was as close as you could get to someone who was interesting and quirky and smart. You know, you saw her in that bookstore in Funny Face in that little black turtleneck sweater, and it was the most compelling article of clothing anyone wore in a movie when I was growing up. You just went, oh, there is someone I can relate to.
I don't want my hair cut. I don't want my eyebrows up or down. I want them right where they are. And I see no functional advantage in a marvelous mouth.
Audrey Hepburn must have been such an enormous relief coming after Marilyn Monroe. Here's a woman with small breasts, you know, odd features, a kind of, you know, she daydreams a lot, and she gets the man. She also gets a kind of independent life.
I just love a happy ending, don't you? Audrey gave audiences the idea that true love was possible for everyone. If only real life was that simple.
In life, all the work in relationships happens once people have got together. In movies, it's the other way around. You know, you have to do all the work in order to get together, and then you kind of mostly assume that it's a happy ending, or you're weeping because they didn't make it, they didn't get together. But in life, once you've said, yes, I do, and you walk down the aisle, that's when you have to start doing the work. I'm a mush, you know, I love really romantic movies. I think a mark of a good movie for me is if I've cried, really. I mean, and that's terrible, but it's true.
It's not terrible. The romantic and Kleenex were made for each other. No matter what changes in real life or in the movies, the romantic never changes. John Wayne and Clint Eastwood may be kings of the Western, but when it comes to romance, it's a woman's world.
I want a guy who will love me no matter what.
So you got him. Here, me.
This is worse than looking for Mr. Goodbar.
I need to work. I need people. I need a social life. I need sex.
I'm in love with you.
Snap out of it.
As Mae West once said, when women go wrong, men go right after them. And no woman ever went more wrong with more men on the chase than the Bombshell. Oh, is it just me, or did it suddenly get hot in here? The Bombshell has a way of doing that to a theater. She doesn't have to be blonde, but it helps. Measurements matter. Brains are optional. A sense of comic timing only adds to her charms. She's ready, willing, and always available, but she can break your heart with one look. For young wannabes, she's the ultimate Hollywood fantasy. You don't have to have talent. You just need to have curves.
Boy, what I wouldn't give to go to Hollywood.
Right from the earliest days of the movies, girls flocked to Hollywood hoping to trade their sex appeal for stardom. A girl's face could be her fortune, and her figure could be worth 6 figures. It was one big audition, and girls did whatever they could to measure up.
Someday, somehow, I'm going to be, well, maybe not a star, but a real actress.
Well, a girl's gotta have dreams. Most of these young hopefuls ended up disappointed. Jean Harlow ended up #1 at the box office, the original platinum blonde.
I've started on the upgrade, and whatever happens, baby, I'm in the big leagues now.
Harlow exploded onto the screen in 1930 and became a star overnight. She was sexy and sassy, and as far as her fans were concerned, she couldn't make movies fast enough.
Gosh, that means a different makeup, and I have to have my hair changed again, and... I ask you, Miss Carroll, is one lady to another. Isn't that a load of clams?
She was the original blonde bombshell. She was the first one to have that platinum hair, have an audacious body attitude. She was incredibly loquacious, you know, she was ballsy.
Always great to play characters whose boundaries are stretched beyond the norm or the convention of the day. I think it's always great to play a character whose ego is set in a different space than your own. A place where you get to kind of go out and tap dance on the outer limits and then come back relatively unscathed is really kind of a gas.
What's your new book about?
A detective. He falls for the wrong woman.
Are such people believe in love in the movies? Particularly by now, our ideas of what it means to fall in love, to meet someone in order to fall in love, are all influenced by the movies we've seen, to the point, I think, that people sometimes think that if they absolutely hate someone on first sight, they're bound to marry them.
Has the war started?
But finally, they come together, so it's an enormously satisfying moment, I think, for an audience.
Let me get my breath. Now, those were the days when people knew how to be in love.
You're a basket case.
They knew it. Time, distance, nothing could separate them because they knew it was right, it was real, it was
A movie. That's your problem. You don't want to be in love. You want to be in love in a movie.
Even the most cynical people who say they don't believe in love, if there are.
What happens?
She kills him.
Enough of this murder and mayhem.
You can fool some of the people all the time, but you can't never fool the American women. They want sophisticated love.
You must remember this. A kiss is just a kiss.
Golly.
Or so the song goes, but for the romantic, a kiss can mean everything.
What'd you do that for?
Wondering whether I'd like it.
What's the decision?
The kiss on screen is the orgasm of real life, isn't it? It's that great culmination. It's the moment when the two people who have been maybe edging closer and closer together throughout the movie, and obstacles have been trying to tear them apart.